think I met Lydia Vance at a poetry reading. I read for 30 minutes. I was still sober and could feel the eyes staring at me out of the dark. A few people came up to talk to me. Then during a lull, Lydia Vance walked up. She put both hands on the table, bent over and looked at me. She had long brown hair, quite long, a prominent nose, and one eye didn't quite match the other, but she projected vitality. You knew she was there. I could feel the vibrations running between us. Some of the vibrations were confused and were not good, but they were there. She had on a suede cowgirl jacket with fringe around the neck. Her breasts were good. I told her, I'd like to rip the fringe off your jacket. We could begin there. Lydia walked off. Hadn't worked. I never knew what to say to the ladies.
I mean, my sisters and I mean, everyone called us 5 peas in a pod. I grew up in Boulder, Utah, on this ranch. We had to ride this bus to school, morning and night, an hour each way. My first art experience was with a gang that used to do graffiti on rocks. Yeah. Oh, they were a trip. My oldest sister, she's also an artist. She was the leader of that gang. Yeah, we painted a nude up there on this, oh man, this just beautiful, flat, red sand rock canvas. Oh, it was amazing. It was a dangerous climb, and we painted for hours. Oh man, we were just up there all day. Well, we had to hurry though because, you know, if any cars came, we're gonna get caught. Nudes aren't really honored in Mormon country like they are in Rome. I think it became a favorite target practice for boys who I think shot her boobs right off. After I got married and we moved to Hollywood, I used to stroll with my new baby past this studio that had this little sculptured head in the window. I mean, I just admired it. Well, I'd wanted to be an actress, but my husband made me promise to give up on that dream. Yeah, he later agreed to allow me to take sculpting class. How nice of him. But I found in that class that I was able to capture a likeness better than anyone in the room. I've had many dreams of me sculpting in past lives.
Dee had a place in the Hollywood Hills. She shared the place with another lady executive, Bianca. I rang the bell. It was 8:30 p.m. when Dee opened the door. Dee was about 40, had short black cropped hair, was Jewish, hip, freaky. She drove a brand new black Mercedes. She was New York City oriented, knew all the names, the right publishers, the best poets, the most talented cartoonists, the right revolutionaries, anybody, everybody. She smoked grass continually and acted like it was the early 60s and loving time when she had been mildly famous and much more beautiful.
I've always taken care of myself in every way, if you know what I mean. I was very lucky. My parents were wealthy. I had a lot of advantages, but I was taught to do things for myself. I spent the early part of the 60s, traveling throughout Europe with my brother, and everyone was freaking. Okay, there were wars going on, but I never do what women who would consider themselves normal would do. My friends were always, don't do that, don't go with him, and me? Oh, I'd say, yeah, and just run right at it. I'm the girl who was always, let's see what happens. And I think a lot of women try to be normal because they're afraid of danger. They want to avoid it. But me, I don't know, I think avoiding danger means that you're probably missing out on some potentially interesting experiences. But, I don't kid myself. It's a gamble. It's a chance that I take. I never gamble with finances. Only with my life.
Picking Mindy up at the airport. She wrote me long letters saying she wanted to meet with me. She sent photos. You never knew about photos. You can never tell. I was nervous. I felt like vomiting. I lit a cigarette and gagged. Why did I do these things? I didn't want her now, and she was flying in from New York City. I knew plenty of women. Why always more women? What was I trying to do? New affairs were exciting, but they were also hard work. The first kiss, the first fuck had some drama. People were interesting at first. Then later, slowly but surely, all the flaws and madness would manifest themselves. I would become less and less to them, and they would mean less and less to me. Women knew me beforehand because they read my books. I had exposed myself. On the other hand, I knew nothing of them. I was the real gambler. I could get killed. I could get my balls cut off. Love poems of a eunuch.
If I'd been homecoming queen, would I even be here right now? I've always loved the underdogs. Attracted them like a vulture on roadkill. My parents would get so upset. My poor mother Why? She always wanted me to be one of the popular girls. I think she was. But not me. I would always come home dragging the kids nobody else wanted to be friends with. They were ugly, dumb, unpopular. I felt sorry for them. I felt empathy. I don't think I'm hideous, although I don't have the best self-esteem either. You would think marrying my high school drama teacher would make me feel good about myself. He chose me out of hundreds of girls.
Mindy took a bath and changed her clothes. The phone rang. It was Lydia. You're not alone, are you? I'm with a friend. It's a woman, isn't it? Yes. Well, all right then, goodbye. Around 10:45 p.m., Mindy was in the living room drinking and reading a magazine. I was lying on the bed in just my shorts, drunk, smoking, a drink on the chair, staring at the blue ceiling, not feeling or thinking about anything. There was a knock on the front door. Mindy asked if she could get it. The next thing I hear, Mindy scream, then Lydia scream. I heard scuffling grunts, bodies flying. Furniture was upset. Several minutes passed. I got up and closed the door. Evidently, Mindy had gotten away because suddenly Lydia walked in. She looked at me. Sorry, I've pissed myself. 2 policemen stood at the door. Hello, I said. We're answering a disturbance of the peace call. We have some details. It was 2 women, right? They usually are, I said. All right, said the cop. Which one of the 2 women do you want? I'll take that one, pointing to Lydia sitting in a chair.
I don't know what I was thinking coming here. Leaving my daughter and my husband to come here for the weekend. What did I expect? They were gonna fall in love with me and want to lick my wounds. Want to heal the gaping hole in my being. Before I came here, I romanticized myself as an alcoholic in training. Now, I don't know what the... I'm an amateur. I can't compete with his other women. I think I like myself. My husband loves me. He let me come here for the weekend. Get this out of my system. You know, be hip with the times. I worked really hard to get what I have and to be where I am. I work in an office, damn it.
If I had been born a woman, I would most certainly have been a prostitute. And yet women, good women, frightened me because they eventually wanted your soul, and what was left of mine I wanted to keep. Basically, I craved prostitutes, base women, because they were deadly and hard and made no personal demands. Nothing was lost when they left. Yet at the same time, I yearned for a gentle, Good women, despite the overwhelming price. Either way, I was lost. A strong man would give up both. I wasn't strong, so I continued to struggle with women, with the idea of women. Love is all right for those who can handle the psychic overload. It's like trying to carry a full garbage can on your back over a rushing river of piss.
I think most men, or most people, you know, they're too afraid to love. They've been hurt too much, been too wounded by it. It starts in us as children. When you're a child, you don't have many choices. You're at the mercy of whoever is in charge of you. And if that's a bad situation, I mean, the hurt, it goes so deep that you almost forget it's there until you get older and you make your own life. You can choose to dwell in the past and let it tear your shit from the inside out, or I choose to take it. All of it. The good, the bad, the traumatic, all of it. I take it and I put it into my sculptures. I had a breakdown in the 60s. After that, I went to adult school in Burbank and I studied sculpting there. My favorite sculptor is Rodin, even though he didn't treat women all that great. Well, unless he was between their legs at the moment. But I did go to the Rodin Museum in Paris. They had some of her pieces in his museum. How nice of him. Oh. What was her name? Oh. See, I hate that. See, even I can't even remember her name, or I can't even find it at the moment. Do you see how the she is forgotten? Yeah, she got so frustrated, she destroyed her work. Well, most of it anyway. I mean, that's why I can't remember. I don't like that. I'm against the destruction of any public art. I mean, after all, they're not the artist.
Got a poem in the mail
this is what you
from
do.
Lydia.
This is what you do. Love is no fun.
Lydia and I were always fighting on and off. She was a flirt and it irritated me.
I flirt with men. I'm young, attractive. I want to have fun. You have fun on your agenda with no thought of me at all.
When we ate out, I was always sure she was eyeballing some man across a room.
Men get really angry when you act like them. It's okay for them to do certain things, or treat you in a disrespectful way, or do hurtful things that you don't like. Like fuck whores in the next room while you're sleeping with your children, or picking up groupie girls right in front of your face.
When my male friends came by to visit and Lydia was there, I could hear her conversation become intimate and sexual. It was my drinking that irritated Lydia. She loved sex, and my drinking got in the way of our love-making. She'd turn into the head cheerleader at the game of violence.
Watch out. If you do the same thing back, you could get your nose broke or get punched in the face. I took it for much longer than I should have. Now, I punch back.
Lydia split for Utah. I feel like crying. My gut is all chewed up. I might not make it. It must be that I'm not too good with the ladies. I ought to start feeling good again. Pain is strange. Cat killing a bird, a car accident, a fire. Pain arrives. Bang! There it is. It sits on you. It's real. And to anybody watching, you look foolish. Like you've suddenly become an idiot. There's no cure for it unless you know somebody who understands how you feel and knows how to help.
Writing isn't, it's not what I do. It's what I am. I mean, I've been all over the world, discovering talent, interviewing every musician, actor, poet, writer, director you've ever dreamed of meeting. And you get to sit down with them and suck it all in, you know, and ask them all that trippy shit you always thought about, you know, if you ever met them. I lived it, man. I lived it in a man's world. I like men. They're not threatened by me. They know that I'm not trying to be one of them. I just do my thing, man. Now I write for an LA rag about all of my bizarre adventures in Follywood. I met my husband on one of those low-down excursions, and, well, the drugs wore off, and then the divorce about a month before my son was born. But I still like love. I'm a romantic deep down. I think every woman is to some extent. And I've lived long enough to know how to be a good woman. Motherhood, it enhanced me, but it didn't define me. You have to want to be a caregiver, but I was no cliche. I wasn't designed to fit in that box. You know, I wasn't brought up to be typical. You know, my parents, they raised me to see between the lines. You know, not the black and white, to see the gray areas. You know, they sent me to alternative private schools so I could just peruse around the status quo. They stepped on the cracks, man, and they flipped my entire script so that I didn't have to conform to society's image of, a savage image of what is female. Women have to be really careful not to slip down that very well lubricated slope. You know, where you end up in the suburbs, you know, scrubbing floors for some John, I don't know, half dead, living some other woman's life. Not me. No. No.
I've got to go see Dee Dee. It's over, but I just don't want to let her down too hard. I don't want to fuck her. I hardly wanted to fuck her when I was with her. I want to explain to her what happened. People are too cold with each other. I don't want her back. I just want her to understand. I got into the Vokes. Drove up until the rents were high, got out, walked up the long flights of stairs and rang the bell. Bianca met me at the door. I walked down the long hall to the bedroom. Dee Dee was on the bed in just her panties. One arm was flung over her eyes. Her breasts looked good. There was an empty pint of whiskey on the bed and a bedpan smelling of vomit and booze on the floor. She lifted her arm. What? You've come back? You don't know how I felt. Pain was awful. Stretched out next to her. We embraced. Her breath smelled like vomit. I can't stay with you, Dee Dee. I met Sarah at a bar, the Lancer, during a reading. She was the third girl I met that night. She gave me her number. They all gave me their numbers that night. You knew Dee Dee, didn't you? Yes. Did you hear what happened to her? No. First, she lost her job. Then she went to Mexico, met a retired bullfighter who beat the shit out of her and took her life savings. Then she got in a car crash. Poor Dee Dee. Sarah was a handsome woman, lean, and she moved around briskly. Class. I had Sarah's phone number in my wallet. I drove home, took a crap, then phoned her. She invited me to meet her at her health food restaurant that do drop in for lunch. Tomorrow? Fine. I'll make you a good healthy sandwich. Her hair was red blonde. It looked really good. We drank a lot of wine, too much wine. She held her wine well. I kissed her. I told her I was too drunk to drive home. Oh, you can sleep in my bed, but no sex. Why? One doesn't have sex without marriage. One doesn't. No. Baba doesn't believe in it. Sometimes God can be wrong. Sarah was a good woman, a good soul. I had to get myself straightened out. A man could lose his identity fucking around too much. Sarah deserved much better than I was giving her. It was up to me now. People owe each other certain loyalties, even if they aren't married. In a way, the trust should run deeper because it wasn't sanctified by the law.
I came to LA originally to become an actress. Nobody told me that there were hundreds of girls arriving on the bus every day in downtown Hollywood, all with stars in their eyes. I started taking some acting classes and got a few parts, B films. I couldn't keep up with the constant auditioning and the rejection. Well, I met this girl in one of my classes and she introduced me to the Sunset Boulevard scene. I started hanging out in rock and roll clubs, and she introduced me to Jim Morrison. But then we started going to poetry readings, and that changed a lot for me. One night we were sitting at a bar, and this really attractive man sat down next to me, and we started chatting, and he asked me if I knew what I was here for, and I said, well, yes, I'm here to get drunk. And he laughed, and he said, no, I don't mean here. I mean this planet, this life. Well, I almost fell off the bar stool. I mean, I had never even thought of anything like that. I was too busy running around in circles. Well, the next morning I woke up badly hungover. And I remembered that there was this spiritual bookstore right down the block from my place in Redondo. So I got up, dragged my sorry ass down there, and I walked in, and I just felt myself being drawn to the section on Hinduism. So I walked over and shut my eyes and just reached out and just grabbed the first book I felt. And I opened it up, and there was a picture of the most beautiful man I had ever seen in my life. Well, I bought the book, I went back, read it cover to cover. And the next thing I knew, I was on a plane to India. I fasted, meditated for days at a time. We went to work at leper colonies, mental asylums, places where we were needed the most. That's where I learned compassion. After a year and a half, I flew back to Los Angeles, and I realized my acting career was over. I didn't have that drive anymore. So I took the last of my savings and opened up my health food restaurant. We fed the homeless and gave free food to starving artists. I was celibate for over a year. That was the hardest year of my life. But I learned that sex can transport, but true love transforms.
I was taught to do things for myself. I blew that first line, I'm sorry.
Oh! I studied ceramics at Dixie College in St. Boulder, Utah.
St. George, sorry, cut.
Sorry. So you can't tell by looking at me? What was I saying?
Wait, cut. Just have her put those back in real quick. When I call action, then come in. Let me just have another sip of wine because my hands are fucking shaking.
Want to get me another cigarette? My little slave boy over there. Slave boys from Georgia. They call you slave boys?